What's up everybody, Matt Moran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of news to go over here this week. The first is about a new potential special edition Subaru WRX STI coming. So Auto Guide has actually discovered this earlier this week. The Subaru filed a patent here in the United States for the S209 name. And then Subaru later in the week here basically confirmed an S209 coming by posting a video of a camo STI testing at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, and titled the video "From Japan with Love," and said something special from STI is coming to America for the first time ever. That would be the S209, since we never get those here in the States. It's always been a Japan only thing. So anyway, you know, the S2Os, I think they started with the 201 and then continued on over the years here. Now we're 209. But this is probably going to be like the last special edition before the all-new next-gen WRX and WRX STI come, which is rumored to be in the calendar year 2020, according to Auto Guide. That's what they're speculating. We'll have to see. We know that this S209 is actually going to be revealed at the Detroit Auto Show in January, because Subaru is actually on the press conference schedule for Detroit as Subaru Technica International. So it's actually STI holding the press conference. So this is all we're going to see from Subaru, it seems like. But that's no complaint there. It's always great to see a new special edition. And from that, you know, the video there of the camouflage car, it looks very similar to the Type RA. I'm hoping they make this a little more unique than just a second model year of the Type RA, essentially. The S2Os in Japan always use the 2-liter turbocharged engine in the STI, which we don't get here. We, you know, are stuck with the 2.5-liter instead. So that would be a really cool way to differentiate it, but, you know, certifying that foreign motor for emissions and stuff would probably be way too expensive. So I'm sure this is probably just going to be some slight reworking of the Type RA, but it would be cool if they did something more than that. Something that was unexpectedly awesome this week here is Toyota of Europe posted a teaser video here showing us some sounds of the new Supra, and I will link it in a card above and also in the description below so you can check it out and listen for yourself. But, you know, it's the BMW inline 6, you know, turbo motor, but it sounds so much better to me. It just, in this clip, I don't know, it just really sounded sweet. I was impressed with it. It almost sounds like a V6 F-Type to me. And so this just adds to the hype and the excitement. We're finally going to, of course, be seeing the full reveal of the Supra at the Detroit Motor Show again in January. So anyway, cool to see that little teaser. And we have a few Ford stories this week. First is offroad.com has found a Ford product timeline that shows which vehicles Ford's going to be revealing here. And it's showing that first they're going to be revealing the new Explorer, then an F-Series vehicle, and then the new Bronco. And so the Explorer is almost certainly going to be debuting at Detroit alongside of the GT500. If not there, then certainly at the Chicago Motor Show in February. Either way, not long to wait for that. This F-Series, that's a little bit more of a mystery as to what's going on with that. But first, we'll get back to the Bronco here. Ford, they've been saying all along, Ford said the Bronco's coming in 2020. Everyone kind of hoped that was 2020 model year, but it sounds like it's most likely going to be 2020 calendar year as a 2021 model vehicle. And so, you know, we'll have to, you know, wait a little bit longer for that, unfortunately. So no Bronco at Detroit this year or anything like that. But this F-Series, it's a little bit more mysterious because there's a few ideas. First is it could be a hybrid F-150. It could be an all-new next-gen F-150, although we haven't seen anything spied. So, although, I mean, this could be any time in 2019, so there's plenty of time to see spy mules before it's revealed. That would be a little soon. The most likely scenario here is a new Super Duty, considering, you know, Ram and Chevy have just revealed theirs. And although Ford's is pretty fresh with their Super Duty, you know, doing some type of new thing with that probably makes the most sense. And there have been some prototypes running around for Super Duties for Ford recently as well. So that's when all that's coming. Now, I'm guessing this is just referring to the trucks. I'm not sure when the baby Bronco is coming, though. That was, you know, we kind of saw some leaked images from that dealer's meeting. And that's going to be more car-based, so maybe that's in a different classification, so it didn't fall under this timeline. So I don't know where that will fit in. Speaking of the Bronco and Baby Bronco, though, another story here is Australian site Car Sales is reporting that neither of those vehicles are going to be coming to any right-hand drive markets, which is a really big disappointment, especially for Australia. And so this Car Sales site, they interviewed Ford's Australia boss, who said there are currently no plans in place for a right-hand drive Bronco, and ended by saying, clearly it's going to be a great vehicle, but we are extremely happy with the performance of Ranger here. And so, I mean, yes, they do get the Ranger Raptor in Australia, which is awesome and something we don't get here in the States. And so they, I guess, want to differentiate, their truck market from ours here. But still a bummer that Ford wouldn't bring that. You would think that would be a natural fit for Australia to have a Bronco if it's actually truly an off-road vehicle like that. The Australians, I think, would love it. So a missed opportunity there. Maybe they'll change their mind eventually. Who knows? But that was awesome, with the Mustang and a few others where they're making them right-hand drive and making it available to the world, and it's great. But I guess no such luck for the Bronco, unfortunately. The last Ford news here this week is actually from Lincoln, and that is that they have revealed the Continental Coach Door Edition, which stretches the Continental 6 inches and reintroduces, as you can see, those suicide doors. And before you get excited, though, they're only making 80 of these, and they're going to be slightly over $100,000 each. So I'm really going to try and prevent myself from ranting here, but this is a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. But anyway, Autoblog got all the details on these. They're going to be basically fully loaded black labels, all of them, and they're going to be built as normal Continentals at Flat Rock in Michigan, and then they're going to be sent from there to Cabot Coach Builders in Massachusetts, where all the fabrication is done, the extra 6 inches are added, and all the other modifications needed for the suicide doors and everything. And so this isn't some type of weird custom thing, though. Lincoln says they've engineered all the parts. They just have the coach builders do all the fab work and kind of put it all together. They just can't build it physically at the assembly plant, so they send it elsewhere to someone to have them do it. But this is all Lincoln stuff, supposedly. Mechanically, everything's the same. Since it's only 6 inches longer, they have the same engine, same brakes, all that kind of stuff still works fine. And Lincoln does claim best-in-class legroom with the 6 inches gained, though. There's also a unique center console in the back that controls audio, climate, and also includes a tray table and tablet holder. And Autoblog did say that Lincoln has left open the possibility that they could make more for 2020, but it would still be in extremely limited production numbers. So yeah, ordering's available now, and deliveries start next summer to those 80 customers willing to spend over $100,000 for a Continental. I love the Continental when it came out. I did a quick drive of one, still have not done a full review on one, but I was really impressed with it. I really love the Continental. I want to love it more. I think suicide doors and making it a little longer would help everyone else to love it more, especially fleet drivers that limo companies, stuff like that need black cars to drive around, and people a little more luxuriously. They have those old Lincoln Town cars, many of them are still using. Some have transitioned on to just SUVs and stuff, but to have a normal sedan would be great, and this would have been perfect. And everyone complains that regular, Continental, that's only downfall is it doesn't have enough legroom in the back. And, you add that extra legroom, the suicide doors, I guarantee it would, I don't guarantee, but I'm pretty confident it would save the Continental and reverse its, downward sloping sales trend. But not the case. I guess it's going to be a one-off thing. I guess they just can't find a way to retool the factory to build these Continentals this way for everyone. I don't know. But anyway, a little bit of a bummer. But anyway, interesting to see that. And Porsche this week has revealed the 718 Cayman T and 718 Boxster T. And so this is similar to the setup of the 911 T, where, it starts with the base model. So this is the base 718s, which have 295 horsepower, 285 pound-feet of torque. And instead of adding more power, it just adds a few options packages and a couple unique things. It supposedly makes it a tiny bit lighter, it's supposed to at least. But anyway, the packages you get included as standard are the GT Sport steering wheel, Sport Chrono package, Porsche Active Suspension Management, and Porsche Torque Vectoring with a locking rear diff and short throw shifter. So they say it should be about 5 to 15% cheaper for the T versus ordering all those options on your own. So that's kind of where the value comes in here for the T, but that's about it. Inside you get some fabric door pulls along with lots of T badging. European versions get standard infotainment infotainment delete as well, so you just have a cubby instead of the infotainment, and that would actually reduce some weight there. But here in the US, we're required to have the screen because we have to have a backup camera, federally mandated, so we don't get the infotainment delete here. And you can also add that in for those in Europe who don't, want to have just the cubby. But interestingly, the dry weight is actually heavier than a regular Cayman by 33 pounds, but that's listed on Porsche's site, and I'm assuming for a regular Cayman, they don't list it with all the options. They list it for a, bare bones Cayman. So this extra 33 pounds for the T probably is a result partially of all those extra packages and options added on. So it's hard to say, exactly how much weight you actually save here with the T, if anything at all. But anyway, all the performance numbers are the same and stuff like that. So this is basically just for those who, again, want those options packages and want to save a little bit of money, get something a little bit special. But if you're spending all that money on all those options, I feel like you'd be better off just going up to the S and maybe doing without a few options or something. I don't know, but that's just me. I don't know. But anyway, interesting to see them offering that, and cool to give people options. Audi was spied testing the refreshed Audi Q7 here in the snow, and so it looks pretty good. This is just a refresh, not a completely new model, so it looks to just have like the new matrix LED headlamps in the front. The taillights in the back are also similar to the A7 and Q8 with the new kind of cool styling there, and they look like good changes. Can't see too much else, but should also be getting the new dual touchscreen setup inside as well. But anyway, this should be a 2020 model year vehicle, and so that means it should be out sometime next year. So cool to see that. Land Rover has released a teaser here for the new Defender saying do not unwrap until 2019. So it also lists a date of December 27th. So that's, I'm guessing they'll have a little bit more info then as well. But the most interesting thing to me is actually that this came through the US media site for Land Rover, which is interesting because I had previously thought the Defender was only going to be like for Europe and the UK and, those places wouldn't come to the States. But I guess they actually are bringing this one to the States. That would be really cool. It's been spied in the past. I just haven't featured it because I didn't think it was going to be coming here to the States. And, it's kind of forbidden fruit. But it's going to be having either a 2-door version or a 4-door version available, at least for those in the UK. We'll see what versions we do get here in the States. But very boxy, being a very cool competitor like the Jeep Wrangler and even like the G-Wagon and stuff that thrive off that. And this should drive a little bit better than the previous Defenders of the past because it's supposed to be using independent suspension both front and rear. Previous Defenders had solid axles both front and rear, so a big improvement there. Should transform it much like the G-Wagon from the old version of the new one, and should give it a more refined ride, and all should be pretty good, although hopefully the off-roading isn't compromised too much because of it. But anyway, cool to see that teaser. Mercedes has also shown a teaser for the 2020 CLA that they'll be showing at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas in January. And so all we see is a sloping roof, which isn't anything new. We've seen spy shots of the CLA already. We know it's going to obviously share a lot with the A-Class that's already debuted, including much of the interior, although there's rumors that it could get some nicer materials here and there. And it's also going to be sharing the same engine, so that means we'll probably get a CLA 35, 300 horsepower roughly version, and then the 45, which should be somewhere around 400 horsepower or so. And anyway, the main reason why they're bringing this to the CES show instead of Detroit is the tech enhancements inside the car. So they say that it's going to be using the MBUX system that was debuted first in the A-Class, which we still haven't even gotten here in the States yet. They say they've already improved on this MBUX system, and so now a few of the changes here that have been improved, they say it now includes augmented reality navigation, indirect voice command capability, and an interior assistant that identifies operation requests on the basis of movements to lend the vehicle interior a certain level of intelligence. I have no clue what that even means, but hopefully they'll have some demonstrations or something at CES in January, and it'll make a little more sense of that then. Some other Mercedes news is they've also finally revealed pricing for the AMG GT 4-door. It's been nearly a year since it was revealed, and now we finally have prices for it. Pricing for the 63 version starts at $137,495, and the more powerful S version with its 630 horsepower is $159,995, which actually makes it more expensive than the 2-door real sports car AMG GT, whereas this is just based on the CLS platform, but it does have more power than you can actually get with the AMG GT 2-door. So Might even potentially be faster in a straight line, but it should be very impressive. And although that number, 160 grand basically for the top line one, sounds a lot, it's fairly reasonably priced. We do know there's going to be a 53 version coming down the road eventually that will be more affordable as well. But when you compare this to the V8 versions of the Porsche Panamera, the Mercedes is a few $1,000s more, but also gives you more power for that extra money as well. And so the only way you can get a Panamera that's faster, trim versus trim, is to go up to the Turbo SE hybrid version of the Panamera, which gives you 680 horsepower, but that's also $187,000. So it's an extra, 27 grand over the top of the line Mercedes here. So crazy expensive, all these super sedans, but anyway, interesting to see that priced. GMC has a much more reasonable package here. They introduced a new off-road performance package for the already off-road ready Sierra AT4 this week, and so they already have a 2-inch lift with Rancho off-road shocks, 4-wheel drive with locking rear diffs and hill descent control, and skid plates. That's all included already in that AT4 package. So this performance package gives you the 6.2-liter V8 engine with an upgrade, plus you get an additional 15 horsepower and 9 pound-feet of torque thanks to a catback exhaust and performance air intake. So you get a grand total of 435 horsepower and 469 pound-feet of torque. It also is going to be including 18-inch wheels with Goodyear Wrangler DuraTrack tires. And so this whole package is going to be $4,940, so basically $5 grand, which is a little pricey for an exhaust and intake, wheels, and tires. You can probably do all that in the aftermarket for a little bit less, but all these parts are covered under warranty, and it's all bundled into the financing, of course. If you're buying it, obviously it's part of the vehicle purchase, so that makes it much easier than just going out and spending $5 grand out of your own pocket if you have it bundled into the financing. And these days with financing and, loan terms getting longer and longer and stuff, I'm sure that makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. But anyway, it's cool for GMC to offer this, and I think it's a very cool little package, so cool to see that. Autocar is reporting this week that Aston Martin is working on a smaller engine in their efforts to downsize in some of their models, and make more efficient vehicles. So the rumors are that they're working on their own straight 6 engine. It was originally thought they could be using Mercedes' new 6-cylinder, like the whole AMG GT53 setup that they have in those with a hybrid component. There was rumors they're going to be using that, but then their chief engineer clarified they won't be using the Mercedes tech, but could do something similar to that. It's kind of what he was meaning. And so Autocar is thinking they could possibly take half of the V12, the twin turbo V12 they have, 5.2 liter, and just chop it in half, and there's your inline 6, and then throw that in whatever. But there's also talks about how they're going to be doing a V6 for the Valhalla supercar they're working on, which is supposed to be a McLaren and Ferrari fighter mid-engine and stuff. So that would be a V6. So sounds like they're going to be doing some type of 6-cylinder, whether it's an inline 6 or a straight 6 or some type of V6 remains to be seen. I'm sure it'll probably have hybrid tech to compensate for the lack of cylinders and increase the horsepower number to an appropriate level. And this could potentially make its first appearance in the DBX crossover that's currently testing. We're not sure what engine that car is using. So it could be in that, could be some other stuff too. They put it in, the Vantage or something like that down the road. But anyway, interesting to hear that. And several months ago, I talked about Nuro, which is this autonomous grocery delivery mini car thing that doesn't have any room for drivers or passengers. So it's completely autonomous and with no hope of having a driver. So they partnered with Kroger a while back to eventually start testing this, but as of this week they did actually launch these things onto the streets. So there's these little autonomous pods rolling around with no driver, no humans in it, just groceries driving around on the roads. It's called the Nuro R1, and it's going to be making deliveries here in Scottsdale, Arizona from a Kroger-owned grocery chain called Fry's Food Stores. So it can go up to 25 miles per hour, but that's it. So they're saying deliveries are limited to homes that can be reached by only going on roads that are 25 mile per hour speed limits. So if your house requires going on a 35 mile per hour road, you won't be able to get deliveries. But for those close to the stores, you can get the delivery. The service costs $5.95 per delivery, and that's regardless of what you order, whether it's a ton of stuff or very few things. And you can order it all through an app, and that's how this is all coordinated, of course. It'll pull up at the curb in front of your house. You go out and grab your stuff, and off it goes. And so they do say that there's remote operators that can take over if there's a problem, but they didn't give any more details as far as how this is going to scale and be more widespread eventually. Right now, they're just testing it there and seeing how it goes. But if you're in Scottsdale, Arizona, that'll be very amusing to see these little things rolling around on the roads, probably holding up traffic, being overly cautious, and going exactly 25 miles per hour. So that'll be just dandy, but it's cool nonetheless. Some other autonomous news here, though, is that Uber has announced that they're resuming their testing of their technology in the Volvo XC90s here in Pittsburgh, actually. And so they quit back in March, of course, after that car that hit and killed a pedestrian, and so they completely quit everything at that point. But now they're slowly reintroducing, but they're taking more precautions this time around to make sure that hopefully that doesn't happen again. They're saying they're going to have 2 drivers in the cars at all times. They're only going to go on roads with 25-mile-per-hour speed limits or less around their Pittsburgh offices. Uber has a headquarters in downtown Pittsburgh, so it'll probably just be those urban areas that are pretty slow, speeds and stuff anyway. And they say they're only going to test during the day, only on weekdays, and only when the weather is clear. So perfect visibility, no darkness, because that was the problem. Is last time, a pedestrian came out and it was dark time, nighttime, and so that's kind of how that part of that happened, I think. They also said they're going to be leaving on Volvo's own automatic emergency braking system as a backup, which is a good idea as well, because previously when the fatal accident happened, they had disabled Volvo's tech and just were using their own stuff. And Volvo, after the fact, said if you had our stuff going, it probably would have recognized the pedestrian and done something to at least slow down or stop. And so it's good that they now have Volvo's stuff. I mean, Volvo, they don't mess around with their safety tech either. So keeping that on, I think, is very wise. And so anyway, just starting to test in Pittsburgh. I think they're planning on testing in a few other places too where they previously were testing, but they just announced this in Pittsburgh for right now. So hopefully everyone stays safe this time. We'll have to see. And some other tech. Hyundai showed off a fingerprint system for unlocking and starting a car this week at a auto show in China, and they showed it on this 2019 Santa Fe. And so it allows multiple owners to save their encrypted fingerprints to access the vehicle and then to start it up. It'll also save that user's preferences, and so once you scan your fingerprint, it'll automatically adjust seats, mirrors, and eventually even the climate control in a later update. It uses a similar type of fingerprint tech to what you see on smartphones, and so it's a more advanced fingerprint tech, so it's not easily faked, supposedly. They say that their error rate is 1 in 50,000, which is the same as the iPhone and their Touch ID system. So that's the type of accuracy they're claiming here. It's actually going to be available in China starting in the first quarter of 2019 here. So this is something they're going to be rolling out very soon for the Chinese market. I'm hoping it spreads to the US, maybe for 2020 model year vehicles or something like that. But we'll have to wait and see, how quickly they want to, roll this out. But anyway, interesting to hear that. Volkswagen has released a few pictures here of its ID hatchback testing in South Africa. And of course, there's lots of camouflage on it here, so we can't see too much, but we can see that it's still, going to have some fairly large and aerodynamic wheels. We can also see very similar styling to the concept, which is always great to see. And so Volkswagen has actually promised these are going to be starting production in November of 2019. So, I mean, less than a year, these things are actually going to be produced, the production version, for the general public, which is really crazy. This stuff's coming fast, and these things are going to be everywhere because Volkswagen has said in the past it's going to be priced similar to a comparable diesel car. And but back before Dieselgate, you could get a TDI Golf for like mid 20,000s MSRP. I think 23 to 27 was kind of the range they were in for the lower spec versions. So if they can deliver on that, and maybe even just after the tax credits of $7,500, get this under 20, that might be a little optimistic, but might not be far off. I think it would be very revolutionary. Really put the electric car on the map, because not only would just make it the cheapest electric car out there, new at least, but it also, is going to just have a ton of range. They're saying the range should be anywhere between 250 and 370 miles, which is a very wide range. So I'm not sure, how good it'll be or how impressive it'll be, but even at 250 miles, I mean, you're talking about Tesla Model 3 range for half the price. You're still talking double the range of a Nissan Leaf at, at roughly the same price. I think the Leaf starts at 30 grand. So, if it does, that type of range for those types of prices, that is going to be very, very impressive. And on top of that, Volkswagen is claiming it's going to have Passat-like interior spaces. You don't have to worry about an engine and stuff. You have much more interior room as well. So all things considered, I mean, this is going to be coming in less than a year. And if it's priced that low and does that well for range, you're going to see these things all over the place, I think. It doesn't have the hype of Tesla, of course, but I think when people see a Model 3 with all of its, quality issues and stuff being double the price, it's going to be pretty easy for people to make the decision to maybe try out the Volkswagen. So anyway, interesting to see that. In other EV news here, Hyundai has priced the 2019 Kona Electric this week. So it's going to be starting at $37,495, but it gets the $7,500 tax credit, so that gives it a starting price, if you include that, of $29,995, so $30,000. And that's, of course, for the base model here, but it should sell well, considering it's the same price as a Chevy Bolt, and Chevy's tax credit's going to be going to half pretty soon in a couple of months here to $3,750, making the Kona, cheaper by several $1,000s. Plus, you get 20 more miles of range in the Kona versus the Bolt. The Kona gets 258 miles of range, and this is another vehicle to compete here with that Volkswagen, and do a ton of range for a very competitive price tag, and also do it in a crossover package, which is very hot these days. So could be pretty big. Now, the Kona Electric is going to be in dealers early in 2019, but only in western and northeastern states for now, they're saying. But they're eventually going to be rolling them out to all 50. They just didn't say exactly when, but they're going to start with those zero emission states first. AutoGuide has discovered a trademark application here by Toyota, but it's for the UX300E name for Lexus, of course. And so that E clearly suggests this will be an electric version, and we already know, the hybrid version is already out, and that's called the UX250H. So the E at the end is probably going to be a full EV version. Now, they trademarked it. That doesn't mean they're going to make it. It just means they're protecting the name. And Toyota doesn't have any full EVs yet. So what powertrain they would use is a complete mystery. And, rolling it out in the Lexus maybe makes a little bit of sense. But, you'd think they would do some type of Prius EV or something first. But yeah, so we'll have to wait and see what they end up doing with that. But, it sounds like they're at least thinking about an electric vehicle, if nothing else. And the last story this week actually isn't about any type of future car or anything, but just a cool achievement that I thought was worth mentioning for the last story here. A woman named Farrah Haynes drove her 2013 Hyundai Elantra 1,000,000 miles in just 5 years. And it's all in the original powertrain too. Original engine, transmission, everything, which is really crazy. So she's a delivery driver from Kansas and says she drives constantly about 548 miles a day, because they say she averages about 200,000 miles a year. So 548 miles a day, I mean, that's like road tripping every single day, 7 days a week for 5 years straight. This lady is a champ. She says she gets her oil changed every 2 weeks, which is just crazy. And Hyundai actually analyzed the car and went over everything to verify and make sure it's legit, and it's totally legit. She actually did this, which is crazy. They were so impressed, they actually gave her a brand new 2019 Elantra Limited to replace the 1,000,000-mile vehicle. And they also have a unique little 1,000,000-mile badge they actually gave her for her Elantra in the meantime, because the odometer rolls over once you get to 1,000,000 and doesn't keep counting and just starts at 0 again. So that's just crazy stuff. That's amazing. But she said, she's quoted here as saying, "My Hyundai has been a great car to me. I love to drive and have made a successful career out of it, so it was no surprise that I was able to get to 1,000,000 miles. The key is to prioritize regular maintenance and to have a quality vehicle." So she says her next goal is 1.5 million, it's just crazy stuff. But I'm actually jealous. I wish I could drive even a little bit more than I do, especially my Bullet. All I want to do is drive it, and instead I'm just busy driving press vehicles and traveling other places and stuff. I don't even have as much time to drive as I'd like to. So that's awesome that she loves to drive and gets to drive 1,000,000 miles in 5 years. That's remarkable, and also shows that Hyundais are very reliable. I know on some of my previous Hyundai reviews, I've had people give me grief and say, "Oh, Hyundais aren't reliable" or whatever. They've have a 100,000-mile warranty, a 10-year warranty for a reason, and this just goes to show, I mean, it's very reliable, because I think even, you know, Toyota had that Tundra that got to 1 million miles, and that was a huge achievement. And there's, of course, Matt Farah's 1 million-mile Lexus that's almost at 1 million miles as well. But for this Elantra to just do it in 5 years and still be going strong is really impressive. So obviously it doesn't mean every Hyundai is going to get to 1 million miles, but it shows they're capable of it, which is very impressive. So anyway, very awesome to see that, and congrats to her on the new car and the awesome achievement. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching this video. That's it for all the news this week. I also want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.